Welcome, really, everyone. We gave you a motto for today, is peace your next mission. So this is something we want to collectively reflect on. Before we start, just a logistical note on our side. You will see that the session is being recorded. So by staying here, you consent to being recorded. Of course, our intention is to have this information available and be able to spread the message further. My name is Alexandra Severino. Maybe there are some people here. I didn't have time to go through the full list, but I saw my name already in emails we exchanged in the case you applied to the program already. I'm the program co-coordinator at UNITAR, and it's really my pleasure today to guide you through today's session on behalf of my colleagues. I was designated for this role and very happy to do so. As the program co-coordinator, I have a close relation with the program and super happy to be here. Thank you for joining us from across the globe. And I saw that some of you already inputted where your name and where you are, but I would ask everyone really to share where you are joining us from. We always like to know. So please do use the chat for that. And we are happy you join us, regardless where you're coming from, tuning in from a peacekeeping mission, from a university, a government office, from your home. We are truly honored, regardless of having you here. Again, and before I introduce you to my dear colleagues here joining us in the session, we really want this to be an engaging and interactive experience as much as possible. Feel free to submit already your questions in the Q&A box. You'll see that below on Zoom. And of course, we'll do as best as we can to address as many as we go through our session. We'll have a dedicated space for Q&A. Now it's one of my favorite parts is where I get the chance to introduce the fantastic team that is joining me today and behind our program, dear colleagues whom I always really very grateful to work with. We are a small, well, in the screen does not look as small, but cohesive and passionate team. And I'm really sure you'll love to also to get to know my colleagues today. You'll see my colleague, Mr. Alfred Salar Rosas, who is the program manager at UOC, and that you will, just in a couple of minutes, will guide us through the structure of our dear program and the learning model that we have to offer you. We also have our colleague, Caralt. In the screen, you'll see Caral's Mestres that also helps with the coordination of the program and is part of our team. You have our esteemed faculty members, Dr. Grasvida Jazutis, a conflict management expert, a skilled field practitioner, and that will have insights of more than 25 years of experience in fragile, complex, and post-conflict settings and contexts. How lucky are we to have him here with us? And also my colleague, Dr. Begoña Otero, a leading researcher at the Max Planck Institute, that will share with us some insights on intersections of law, technology, and peace, and of course, her experience in our program with us. Also on the UNITAR side, my dear colleagues, Ms. Catarina Duarte is also co-coordinating the program alongside me. It's a great joy to share that work with her. And also Ms. Ana Moreira, from whom you've heard from email maybe during this process, who is our team design and marketing focal, and the key element in putting this webinar together. Thank you already, Anna, for all your work. Before I hand over to Alfred, as I mentioned that it will kindly guide you a bit through the structure of a program, I want to say just a couple of words about our two institutions, and maybe now formally welcome you from an institutional standpoint as well. The two institutions that put together and deliver this program are UNITAR, and as an agency, a training arm of the United Nations, we contribute with deep expertise in peace education and practitioner-focused capacity building. These are important elements in our program that you'll see mirrored today. And you will see that many of you know is a global leader in online innovation-driven learning. and that offers educational models ideal for professionals balancing education with real or world responsibilities. We see that we are a match made in heaven, if I can say that, in terms of combining different expertise and values. And we are both institutions are indeed very committed to delivering accessible, flexible, and really impact driven and oriented education. With that, and very happy again to be here, I'll pass the word to my colleague Alfred, who will walk you through the program. Over to you, Alfred. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you, Alexandra, for this very, very detailed and very richful presentation of the UOC and from both teams, the UNITAR and the UOC. I would like to give the most welcome to all the people connected now from all over the world, as you mentioned. I've seen we have people from Africa, from Asia, from America, from Europe, which is really I'm really proud of it. Just to highlight that this alliance between the UOC and UNITAR is the oldest one we have as partnership at the university. We started in 2013, so it's more than 10 years now working together in this master. And I'm really happy to be part of this team and to contribute to the training and the education of people who wants to have a better world and to have a peaceful world now when it's really more necessary than ever. I would like to give you some hints, some details about the master we are offering. We have a fully online master. Our university has been working in the fully online masters and undergraduate studies for 30 years, more than 30 years already. And we have this model, as Alexandra mentioned, that really matched with UNITAR needs and with the UNITAR expertise to bring this training and this education to anyone in any place at any time. Let me emphasize the fact that although it's an online master, you will be always with people working together with the rest of your classmates. You will have, of course, our STEAM faculty in the classrooms, and you will be able to connect at any time and work at any time and any moment during the master development and the learning process. It's not a master or it's not a model that we give you the contents and the goals of the program and we leave you alone and working at home alone. No, it's a really fully follow-up program and learning process. As mentioned, you will always have this faculty next to you. You will have a tutor working together with you, and in this sense, you will never feel alone. This is one of the main goals we have, because we know it's hard to study. It's even harder for some people as you living in countries with difficulties, with some connection problems, etc. So our main goal, as I always said, is that to help you to finish your studies. This is our main goal, and for that we will try to give you all the flexibility we can give you. This master is aimed to professionals in conflict-prone environments, for people who is graduated in political sciences, for instance, or cooperation, peace builders, policy analysts, diplomats, etc., security sector actors as well. And what you will learn many different topics on conflict analysis, nonviolent intervention, peace building, negotiation, mediation, leadership, real world case-based learning, which is really important. And you will also have the chance to share a classroom with people with different profiles who surely will enrich the learning process beyond the contents that we can give you. which is really important as well, because in most of our programs, students who study with us are already working in a similar area, and their own experience or professional experience contributes to the learning process in a very important way. Let me just describe which are the programs that we are offering together with UNITAR. First of all is the Master in Conflict, Peace and Security. It's a 2-year based itinerary, which means that there are 4 semesters beginning in October to February, and then starting again from March to July, and then back from October to February and March, July. So these would be the calendar, the general calendar of this semester. In this semester, this fall 2025 semester starts next October 15th. Then for those who maybe are not really able to commit for a study of 2 years, which is something that we can understand, you have also the specialization diplomas, which last 1 year, so 2 semesters, one in armed conflict and another one in crisis management and strategic planning. And then even if you have less time, like six months, you have 3 different expert diplomas in conflict, peace and gender, strategic conflict management, and human security and peace operations. Let me highlight the fact that whenever you start by an expert diploma or a specialization diploma, and if you want to be transferred to the master, all the subjects that you have already taken in one of these different related qualifications will be automatically recognized by the UOC, by the university. So you won't need to take that subjects again. So it's a way to go through the path to a master from step by step in a different pace, or in following or according to your availability. Regarding the model of the university, as mentioned, it's always online. You just need to have an internet connection and to manage your own time. We always say that at the USC, you don't only learn the content of a master of a program, but you learn how to manage your time, how to organize your time, how to deal with ICTs, how to deal with responsibilities and studying. So this is an extra learning that you always take with you after having finished the studies at the USC. Regarding the different contents of the programs, I don't know how you're asking about tuitions, and I can see the chats. Let me just I will answer some of your questions now if you want. The tuition is it's on the website. It's 7,400 euros. But at the USC you can pay installments, and so there is flexibility in payment. So you can check the option of payment with installments, and to make it not that hard for your financial situation or financial options. I don't know about it's very important. I would like to highlight also the fact that when you enroll in the master, you will receive the support of a tutor from the very beginning, who will be on next to you, working with you together to help you out in any need you may have regarding the subjects, regarding administrative procedures, etc. You will have 4 subjects usually in each semester, 4 or 5 maximum. The workload is between 15 and 17 ECT credits. So it's take into account that 1 credit, it's 25 hours of workload. So you may have a little bit an idea of which is the effort you need to reserve to have during all the semester. And all the subjects will be organized from semester to semester. So once you enroll, you will have all your subjects deployed at the time when the master starts. So you don't need to request every semester to ask for which subjects you will take, etc., because you will know everything in advance through our tutor. In this sense, our goal is that you don't feel alone, you don't feel in the internet with no answers, with no connection, or with nobody on the other side, but always in contact with your tutor, and of course with me if you need, and with all the services at the ULC, academic services, etc. If you have more questions regarding, I'm just checking the your chat. If you have any questions of feel free to ask now, and if not, I go over to Alexandra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfred. So indeed, there's the question, the Q&A box, and the chat, and my colleague Anna, our colleague Anna, will also share some information, specific information, and links
Okay.
where you can access some of the information you
Yeah.
are asking us. And additionally, we'll share our contacts at the end of the session for follow-up in the case that is needed. And so this gives us the chance to move on with the session, but also to give you some time at the end for some Q&A. So we change a bit of gears here to dive into the conversation we promised you with our two dear faculty members, whom I introduced already, my colleague Dr. Grasvidas Azutis. I mentioned to you the level of experience of work in conflict zones, multilateral peace operations, and his experience in global context, and Dr. Begoña Otero, with a strong focus on research exploring the evolving relationships between technology, justice, sustainable peace, and their deep understanding and insightful knowledge on gender matters and gender issues. Begoña and Grasvidas, it's such a privilege to have you both with us today. I cannot stop saying it. Indeed, I was just, as your colleague, and also perhaps as the moderator of this session, in a way, as someone engaged in this field, we all are somehow, and we find ourselves in this program. I have been finding myself really regularly reflecting on what building peace actually means in my everyday professional life. And I can only imagine this is the same for you in a way, specifically or particularly considering the current geopolitical climate. So to kickstart us, I was thinking, and this is a question for both of you. We can start maybe, I'll suggest for the sake of the structure, we start with Begoña and we move to Grasvidas. What I wanted to explore, that we could explore, what does building peace looks like in practice today, in your perspective, especially in environments where trust and cooperation are eroding. So this is the motto for us to start. Maybe I'll ask you first, Begoña.
Sure. I mean, first, thank you very much for having me. I mean, the pleasure is all mine. And well, kickstarting with such a hot topic or difficult question, because I think it is a very difficult question. I mean, in my view, and based on the research that I developed, and also from the gender perspective, but also from the digital, for me, building peace nowadays has a lot of common or means, in a way, rebalancing power, but not just between armed actors or political factions, but also between institutions and communities, between platforms and individuals, also between those who design technology and those who are governed by the technology. So in many of the contexts that I have to engage with, like from fragile states to when we talk about emerging digital economies, trust as you said, breaks down not only due to violence, but also because people feel also invisible in the systems that are meant to protect them. No, so I will say that in practice today, to me, building peace requires what I will call a kind of systemic repair. No, so that it means that you need to address the broken links between people and institutions, but also between rights and the enforcement of those rights, and between technology and justice. No, so without that repair, any form of peace will risk being either temporary or exclusionary, which is even worse.
Thank you so much. I found it really interesting that you mentioned the concept of balance, where currently it seems that there's a constant seeking for easy responses to complex problems, and balance is never simple or easy to achieve. So I think that's a very interesting side. And I was wondering, Grasvidas, if you feel the same, if the concept of balance as something needed to move forward to building peace is something you resonate with, and also your perspectives regarding this idea. What does building peace looks in practice today, in your specific practice today? As you know, you've been doing a lot of work, including in the Ukraine. So it would be really interesting to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexandra. And indeed, it's a great pleasure and privilege to be a part of. And indeed, I want to welcome all future students with whom I would be extremely pleased to communicate in the future. Yes, the question is very difficult and complicated. And let me give shortly my personal story from Afghanistan. At that time, it was in 2005. I was a fresh sort of peace builder with bright ideas and energy, and I arrived in 2005 in Kabul from Delhi. And it was my first time in Afghanistan. I had, of course, I was full of questions about the country I was about to work in. But I didn't expect that my first question when I arrived in Kabul is, where is my luggage? Because at the airport, apparently, I was looking for my luggage. It seemed that my suitcase was not coming. And I approached one of the airport's employees for help. And this guy, without blinking, he looked at me and said $5. And honestly, I couldn't understand for what. But apparently, that was simply the price for even attempting to find my luggage. And this moment turned out to me like my first real experience working in a context in which systems operated differently. Informal arrangements often filled the gaps left by formal institutions. And it was my first taste, I would say, of the complex interplay between necessity, survival, and culture. And of course, you can say even though I didn't agree with that approach to pay the money for the task that this guy was supposed to do, but I understood it better over time. And Afghanistan taught me, and that was my first place in which I did my real peacekeeping mission, that you must be prepared not just for a different environment, but also for different set of rules, expectations, and social contracts. And even if you don't agree with them, you must learn how to navigate them with respect, patience, and humility. And this peace concept, what we had in the past and what we have right now, of course, there are some differences, but the culture in peace process plays a significant role. That would be my point. And my second point, if still time permits, I would like to say a few words about the intersection of conflict, peace, and security, because sometimes, we put these concepts in a very simple way, that there's a conflict or war, then, of course, peace is coming inevitably, and then, of course, the restoration of security. But in reality, all these things overlap, and I think that to some extent reflect on what Begonia said about these balances, because we do not live in vacuum. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Ukraine, so you all know that this country is in armed conflict, a very complicated situation, and for instance, even that this country appears under really difficult situations, what you see, for example, that cities, even away from front lines, just because of drones, missiles, they face very serious security problems. And when I was in Kiev, I experienced 200 drones attack per night. So it was really sound and really complicated. But at the same time, I do understand that in eastern part of Ukraine, the situation is even worse because they face missile threats, they face combat operations, they see what is happening on the ground. What's my point? My point is that in the same country which is affected by conflict, you feel that there is a conflict and there is some peace because not all countries is affected by conflict. But you see that conflict and peace can coexist. And security is also an important part of. And sometimes, again, let's not simplify. It's not only about state borders or military strength. No, security is about how to make sure people feel safe and how to make sure public institution functions and make sure that trust exists. And I think in this concept and bringing peace, you have to think about that, about people security, about how to make sure that also public institutions start working and that trust exists in a society.
Thank
That's
you
in a
so
nutshell.
much. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, again, I was talking about complexity and complex ideas to put together in a few minutes, but I think you did a great job doing that and showing also that it's not about a framework or set structure. You then need to necessarily are confronted with reality that might, look like a sort of an adaptation to a specific cultural context and elements of conflict sensitivity and understanding that go beyond peacekeeping models or fixed understandings of how a conflict unfolds and what should be our role as peacekeepers or peace builders. So I think that's a very interesting element that you were able to highlight and show, that how reality intersects with then the ideas you had and the plan you had to do your work somehow. We are getting lots of questions in the Q&A, so I think everyone is looking forward to engage. But before that, I wanted to ask you a couple more insights. If you think about someone just starting their journey in peace and security, and you were recalling, Grasvidas, your experience when you were younger. So thinking about from that framework, and maybe we start with you here, and then we'll move on to Begoña also. So thinking from that standpoint, someone just starting their journey in peace, security, somehow, or for people considering to make a shift, they are experienced in other areas, they are thinking about making a shift to this field. I was wondering what kind of learning experience you would recommend they seek out. And maybe we can delve a bit deeper into that. Based on your experience teaching in the program, how do you think our masters help prepare them for that journey?
Okay, good. Okay, let me begin with this thought that working in peace and security is not glamorous. It's not fascinating. It can be frustrating, bureaucratic, dangerous, but it is one of the few, I would say, professional fields in which your actions can influence life, protect dignity, and it makes feel you happy. Basically, even I've definitely witnessed all these atrocities, bad things on the battlefields, but definitely when you can bring people hope, it makes you happy. Believe me, it's not about money, it's about real satisfaction. And this field is really broad. And of course, the study program helps a lot to achieve your objective because this field is broad. And sometimes I'm asked by students, so do you need to be a soldier to be a part of peace building efforts or peacekeeping? No, because peace and security now involve psychologists, urban planners, lawyers, engineers, educators, digital experts, doctors. everyone can participate in that process. And this is very important. So for that reason, even I've been with this program for a number of years, and I see that there are a number of students that simply want to shift in their career path, and they bring some interesting, valuable insights. And therefore, even if you're a doctor, please do not hesitate, apply for this program, because with this program, you will gain bit new skills, you will refresh, you will get new acquaintances, you will get new ideas, and you will definitely be prepared for that. And of course, having graduated from this program, for instance, you can definitely look at the UN system, because there are lots of roles exist in political affairs, peace building efforts, rule of law, human rights. You can join through UN volunteers, junior professional officer programs, field internships. There are a lot to start your career. Or of course, again, having graduated from this program, you can definitely look into international NGOs. Like there are different interesting roles in conflict mediation, community security, protection. For instance, in Geneva, there is a very interesting organization, Geneva Call, or in French, Appel de Genève. And this organization specifically targets non-state armed actors that deal with international humanitarian law. Again, very interesting. You can also look for regional organizations like African Union, European Union, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, in which civilian experts are needed for different assignments, electoral observation, security sector reform, dialogues, and so on and so forth. So therefore, even if you think that now you are in a financial sector, apply and do not hesitate, because this program, in my view, give you this multi-dimensional approach and multiple thinking, because you can get different knowledge, different expertise from different tutors, professors, and you would be really prepared for this, as I've said, not glamorous work, but definitely a work that can help humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grasvidas, for highlighting that. And again, the need to have all-encompassing frameworks to look at conflict and peace. And I take the chance of you highlighting that point to mention that if you access the link that my colleague Anna is sharing there, and you'll see that in our website, you have a detailed course overview of the courses and disciplines you'll find throughout the program. You will find that there's a very rich holistic view and consideration of these topics in line with what Vidas was just sharing. So this multifaceted approach to understanding it, hopefully giving you the skills that you will need to work on this context, these scenarios. Thank you so much. But going, any additional thoughts from your perspective, and also from your experience teaching gender matters specifically?
I mean, just maybe a couple, but I mean, I fully agree with what Grasiva just said. I mean, I will encourage anyone who wants to start in this field to think across boundaries. So not just geopolitical ones, but also at all levels, disciplinary, institutional, even epistemic ones. So I saw someone posting, I'm a nutritionist and I'm interested. I think there is, as he said, there is room for everyone. Because I mean, peace and security today, but I think always, but especially in these very convulsion times that we're living now, are shaped as much as by, I mean, data infrastructures and algorithmic systems that are all already there, as they are by traditional diplomacy or military power. So if I would have to recommend, let's say, 3 things, I would recommend the following. First, I would recommend anyone to develop a strong foundation in human rights and digital governance, because I think this, looking future, this is important. Second, also, as Grasvidas said, to immerse yourself in community-based and participatory approaches, because this is super important. Whether it's through, I don't know, humanitarian fieldwork, but also digital activism or working with displaced populations. this is important because you need to understand how the communities, how the culture behind the communities experience and resist, all this structural injustice. And third, I think it's important to learn how technology works, but also how technology fails. This is particularly important because this is a field where soft power and hard questions meet, and staying curious, staying critical, and never underestimating the power of these interdisciplinary learnings, which is also what this program provides. It's key.
Thank you so much, Begoña. Thank you for both for sharing those amazing inputs. So, because we have a few minutes still, I would ask you both if you could, and it's a demanding exercise, but just for the people that are here to have an idea about what you teach in your course, if you could, in one sentence, say what the course you teach in this program is about, I would be very grateful, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session. Begoña, maybe we start with you and we move to Gasper.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think the title of the course encapsulates very well gender matters, because the gender perspective in all these peace, security, conflict, in all these mainstream plays a very essential, I will say, role. And that's why we need to dive deeper into how gender plays this role and how it can become an important tool to help and restore this balance in these situations.
Thank you, Begoña. Indeed, I hope many of you will join us in the fall, as my colleague Gasvida said, and Begoña and Alfred. We hope to see many of you, and I'm sure you'll find the course Gender Matters very, very interesting because of this over-encompassing holistic perspective to the questions of gender and how they intersect with these three axes we are just discussing. What about your course, Gravis Vidas? What are the things you like the most about it?
I have two fantastic courses, to be honest. The first course is about conflict analysis, which is, in my view, very interesting and important if you want to indeed take this path and move your career towards UN system, towards peace building. Because what we try to do, we try to analyze the conflict structure, we try to analyze the causes, we try to realize how to better address the issues, we look into conflict resolution models. What we try to do, we try to give you some practical tools, practical analytical tools that help you better understand how to work in a conflict zone and how to address these issues. So that's my first course. And my second course is about UN peacekeeping. And this is very interesting course because we look even from this historical perspective, the development of UN peacekeeping concept. We look into strategic and conceptual documents of the United Nations. We look into the institutional structure to see how UN peacekeeping is functioning and how UN peacekeeping has evolved.
Mute button was not cooperating. Thank you both so much. So you'll see you have a really small taste, but a very interesting one of what you could find in our colleagues' courses, but also the overall program. And now we hand over the floor to you for our Q&A. My colleague Anna shared in the chat these perspectives. It has a lot of information in the case you have just a bit of time and want to go through it. And we are also sharing in our screen a perspective from one of our graduates, and this can give you, we'll find it in the prospect, also an insight into not only what our faculty has to share about the program, but also someone who had the hands-on experience from the learning perspective. And it's such a, whenever I see these testimonials, and I believe this is the same for my colleagues, we get always very humbled and very touched that it produced such a change, such an impact, and we hope to bring this to so many people. Thank you, Anna, for sharing it. And again, you can read the testimony of our alumni in the prospectus we just shared. Moving on to the Q&A part, we have about 20 minutes that we want to use productively, hopefully. I wanted to say, because we'll have to do some level of management of the questions, the time is limited, that if we don't, for any reason, are not able to answer some of the questions that you posted in the Q&A box today, that you write to us, and we'll be able to provide more information afterwards about some of them. We'll not be able to cover all. And we wanted also to take the chance to perhaps focus on the questions that are more about content wise and dimension of the program, and take the opportunity and the chance that we have our experts, our faculty here, to respond to those. If they are about specific requirements of the program and we are not able to answer your questions today, please do not feel that we are disregarding them. We will just offer you a different venue for you to write to us, so we are able to address everyone's questions, which is something we really want to do. And I hope you understand. I thank you in advance for your understanding and your collaboration, considering the time limits we have. Maybe I'll start with one. Thank you, Amir. That I'll just put it out there and then ask perhaps Begoña and Grasvidas to write some examples in the chat if they come to mind. But it's about specific researchers, writers, or books that exemplify the type of material you have in your courses, some bibliography references. So if you then, as we move on, have a bit of time to input in the chat, I would thank you. And then I'll move on to a more broad question that is from Mayank. I'm sorry if I mispronounced. How can we impact the world by doing this master? And it's a very broad but a very important question, which I understand from the perspective of someone that might be considering applying. It's a huge commitment. We know that in terms of time and financial resources. So hopefully also our testimonial responded partially to this, but I wanted to ask Begoña and Grasvidas if there are specific ideas that come to mind about impact that our program might have in the field.
I mean, I think it's not about the program, it's about the person. It's always about what impact you want to make. And what the master does is to give you the tools to be able to do it. So it's always up to you. I mean, I can tell you also a bit of my journey. I mean, I've been always so close to humanitarian work, but my field of work and research, it's very far from, I mean, nobody will say that in the beginning, how do I relate to, you know, peace, conflict, or security? But then you see that there are many, many ways, and not necessarily sometimes just being in a, I mean, you can find conflict zones, let's put it like that in a very general way, in every corner nowadays. Besides what we call armed conflicts or war zones. So it's very much up to you. It's always up to you. That will be my I mean, I think one should also not place expectations in a tool. And the program is a tool. It's a fantastic tool, but it's the tool. So then it's how you make use of that. No? It will be like, what can you do with a I don't know, with a pencil, no, or with a brush? Well, even if you have a brush that is of high quality, it will depend on the hand that manages that, no? And that will be the impact that you will be able to make. That will be my perspective. I don't know if Grasvidas agrees with me or not fully, but
no, I fully agree with you, because it's exactly the program itself gives you the right tools. And I think this is very important, because you can learn from the program what kind of tools you can apply in a field and how to make positive impact to the communities. Of course, it's very difficult to quantify the impact. And I think it would be a wrong approach to quantify, because maybe you can work in a small tribe somewhere in Mali, but you can do an excellent job, or maybe you can run a billion UN program somewhere in Ukraine, but your impact could be even less than the positive impact you already made in Mali. So therefore, I remember myself, I worked in Georgia in a Pankisi Valley, and we had a very small scale program, and we microfinanced local businesses for women. And that was fantastic. And I remember I spoke with one woman afterwards, and she said, listen, I mean, this program, I mean, each family got $500, $500 US, which is not too much, but she was able to start her own business. And she said, now listen, the good thing is that now my son came back to me, because now he can be engaged, because that area is really, there are no jobs, difficult economic situation. And honestly, it made me so happy. Just, small thing, positive thing, and again, right tools in the right place. And I think this program is super helpful in this regard.
Thank you both so much. There's also a very interesting question here in the chat by Nancy, who asks, faced with a community with food shortages or lack of food, how would you explain to them the benefits of peace and security to their community? So I thought this was very interesting from the perspective that you're talking about a very specific problem or issue, if we want, in a very practical dimension of humanitarian support and aid, which is food delivery. So I thought it was really interesting. Thank you, Nancy, for such a thought-provoking point on how this relates to peace and security overall from a community-based perspective, and how to show them that these topics, these subjects are relevant for such a specific issue as food shortages. And it's a topic that is close to my heart, because just last week I had the dissertation viva from one of our students in another program that was indeed about the impact of waiting in food lines for food distribution. So somehow it's a very present reality, to not mention what is happening in Gaza at the moment. So I would feel free to jump in. I thought it was a
Good.
really interesting question.
I have 2 points here. First point is about food delivery is very problematic, because if there is a lack of food, even if you deliver food, but it's a lack, it could be even a cause of conflict. Also, we have to think through this lenses. But in general, how to explain to the community, I think it's quite easy, because if there is a peace, then you can do business, you can plow, you can organize, you can do agricultural activities, and indeed you can make business, you can multiply, you can engage community, then you can basically multiply your incomes. And I think this is really not complicated. The problem is that sometimes, especially once it comes to such a situations like in Mali, the shortage of food is a source of conflict. And then these humanitarian aid, which from time to time comes, of course it helps, it's super important. But as I've said, if there is a lack of, then it simply becomes a source of tension.
Yeah, and also, if I may, I mean, from a gender perspective, this is also something that people tend to forget. There is also, mostly because of, we come from, in general, from a very patriarchal based culture, and that also sometimes it's very intertwined and impacts gender relations and also gender violence. So it happens sometimes that, in when you have food shortage, cultural norms may also prioritize feeding male families rather than female. So, just to give you an example, so it is, I mean, you will be surprised how topics that in principle might not seem to impact gender issues, they do, and very, very in reality.
Thank you, Begonia, also managing the chat somehow. Sorry if you sometimes see me down, just to trying to support everyone with the questions. And thank you for that point and for bringing the gender lens into this topic specifically. Also Begonia. And then we have also a question from one of our participants about your perspectives on about human rights in the ASEAN country or region. Is a very complex question indeed, and I understand where it's coming from. So as I know we can't answer it with the time we have for sure, but are there any thoughts about human rights perhaps in relation to the expertise that could be an asset in working in that area, in that specific region? Any points, any ideas?
I can start. I worked in Asia with ASEAN countries, and I spent some time in Indonesia, Aceh province after tsunami in 2005. And indeed, human rights, yes, we can say it's a problem, but I wouldn't single out this region because, guys, let's be honest to ourselves. Let's look around what's happening in Western Europe, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in Latin America. I wouldn't say that this is an issue. The issue is that there is a global trend related to disrespect for human rights. And indeed, and I think this program also helps a bit to equip with knowledge students, and they better understand, they get some tools how to address these issues. Because it would be very difficult to say that in these countries this is a problem, but once we come back here, somewhere in Switzerland or somewhere else, we say that everything is okay. No, the global trend is that the respect is decreasing.
Thank you so much.
I mean,
Really, both. Yeah, Begonia, please.
may I just, because I couldn't agree more. I think so. Human rights, it's a general issue that it's going in the decline. And I mean, I have also seen trends that talk about peace technology, for instance, no, like, and I think that's also, in my humble opinion, a very dangerous approach. I mean, you don't, I mean, of course, you can go to Cambodia or you can go to Myanmar, or, I mean, and you will find huge, massive violations of basic human rights. But you also can go to the, I will say, the United Nations Broadband Commission and their proposals on how to provide digital toolkits, no? And you will find the fight of certain technological companies that we have all over the world complaining that there is too much word of human rights. And that also goes into these issues of building peace and this idea that we were talking in the beginning about, balancing power. So it is very, it's a, on a high level, it's a big topic. On a down to earth, of course it matters. But as I said, I think the beauty of this program is that it can provide you the tools on how to approach these topics without the need to be a human rights expert, because sometimes it's not a matter of being a legal expert, it's a matter of interdisciplinary, being able to think out of the box and think that there is not only one true or not only one law that one should model, the way that we behave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both. I think it started with a very broad question with a very difficult answer, but also allow us to focus that. And on my side, I was specifically thinking, because you mentioned, Begonia, that human rights are under threat, and I would go maybe a bit even beyond, and to say that the idea we have of a structure and that is aligned with the idea of human dignity is, being questioned, being revisited in ways that are not always something we are familiar with, or that is always coming from a perspective of evolving, thinking, reflecting. Sometimes it's just from a perspective or from a lens of threatening it, and I was just thinking while you were speaking, but also with the questions coming through about impact, about the program, about what we are doing here. And we started to with the motto how to build peace, this idea. And I think that somehow it's also a commitment with education on these topics is important, because there are pressures also on the side of institutions, of universities, to move to areas that are somehow easily linked with employability, certain ideas around that, when we are in a world where it becomes quite clear that expertise on this is more needed than ever. Even the way conflicts are shaped and we look into it, we classify them, and Grasvidas was mentioning some of the aspects regarding the courses itself, are changing. And as you said, Begonia, sometimes it's not, specifically to address human rights needs from a legal perspective. Understanding the framework per se is about responding. And we truly believe that the multidisciplinary, even transdisciplinary lens of this program is well positioned to respond to that, to the needs of the field and to the needs of today's world. And it was interesting to pick up on that from the points you were highlighting. And we just had for those of you who joined us at the event that we did for the higher education fair at UOC, these were also highlighted, and we end up talking a lot about why do we have this holistic lens. There were questions about specific topics and how they are included or not included. And we, through this exercise, became, I think, Alfred, correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm speaking for the both of us, and it was a reflection I had that it's in common, but correct me if I'm wrong, that we made somehow right choices in the way the program was designed, and we are able to respond and to evolve to a reality that changes every day and becomes different given the lens, the umbrella we decided to embrace. So thank you for, through your questions, also helping us reflect about the choices we made and how they look like. I wanted to ask, before we say goodbye for today, to my colleagues, if there is anything you'd like to add before we say goodbye. Any last thoughts?
Okay, no, just thank you, Alexandra. I just wanted to add that you will be receiving the email, which is really important, with the registration form by next June 18th. So all of the students, all the people who have been admitted by UNITAR will be receiving this email from the USC, and you will be able to enroll in the master or related qualifications according to what you chose. And it is very important to fill in all the registration form, and then upon this registration, you will be officially enrolled in the master or related qualification. So by next June 18th, you will be receiving the email. Don't worry if you have been admitted by UNITAR, you are in. So have no worries about it. And yeah, if you have there have been different questions, but my email was in the chat, so do not hesitate to contact me if there were any pending questions pending to respond, and I will be glad to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfred, for that. The last point about there were questions indeed from our applicants. And by the way, thank you so much for joining us. Even if you already received some communication from us, it's great to have you here to start building this idea of small community. You get the chance to meet in advance some of your professors in the course, which is great too, for those of you admitted. So thank you for addressing that. And just from the applications perspective, just to mention, of course, we are receiving, there has been a significant interest in the program, which makes us very happy. So as my colleague Alfred mentioned, there's the enrollment links that will be sent. There is a bit of time still to apply until the 18th enrollment list, but we are receiving applications to in a rolling basis after that if you need more time to take your decision. So really encouraging everyone to think about it, and that we are here for you. Begoña and Grasvidas, any last thoughts or concluding remarks on your side? Anything you'd like to say before we go?
I mean, from my side, thank you for the opportunity to join us and to join you. And I mean, you will be welcome. I think this is a very interesting problem. I mean, if I would have had it some years ago, I'm pretty sure that I would have signed for it. For me, it's a privilege to be teaching, and I hope to see many of you in the class for next year.
Thank you, Begoña.
And
Thank you
I
so
can
much.
just add
We are
that
grateful for you too.
at this turbulent time, peace is more than needed, and this program develops skills for those who want to contribute to peace building, to peacekeeping. So therefore, definitely, if you feel that this is your path, do not hesitate, apply for that program, and definitely you will benefit from. And indeed, been a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much, all. So on my side, I think it was quite visible, my enthusiasm. So I sometimes feel the temptation to apologize for that, because this is a program I've joined recently as coordinator, and I feel very much already so much into it, so involved and so passionate about it. I really believe in it. So I hope that came across. As we said, we didn't have time to answer all your questions, but the team remains available, and contacts were shared in the chat by my colleagues. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We are here for you. Some of you that already were in exchanges with us know that we are usually quick to respond, although, of course, if there's a high level of applications or queries, as it is in the moment, might take a bit more of time. We thank you in advance for your patience if that is the case, but you are not never forgotten, and we have you in mind. The other note I have before you go is how great to see some familiar names. It's always, even if we did not see you per se, to see that you join us, following up from the conversations by email. And I wanted to end by reading X note in the chat that I found so beautiful, and that in a way encapsulates also what I feel about the session today. And I believe my colleagues will share this too. And it reads like this: I hope you will have meetings like this more. It's not just an informative session, but we are gathering people who have the same goal to input and share how to live more peacefully. It gives me for battery life to work as a social worker. If that, was the case today, we are all already so proud. And this is something we know that battery some of you are looking for, is something we find ourselves as staff in this program. By working together, by getting to know you, and also learning with you all and from your experience, and co-creating this body of knowledge, of learning, of this idea of community together. So we really hope to see everyone, all of you, in the fall, in our fall cohort. And until then, we remain available to answer any questions that you might have, and to keep in contact with you. My colleague Anna shared some next steps about the recording, about the information, so you have that information too. And it's definitely not the last webinar that we'll organize. So responding to your quest or your desires, indeed, let's have more meetings like this and continue to reflect together on what the world needs. We'll say goodbye for now, and I really start to thank you all for making the time for being here with us today. We had more than 70 people attending the session. We are so happy about it, and we do not take your time for granted. And I want to give a special thanks to Begoña and Gracias for all the work they do in their courses, but also for supporting us as program team here today. A special thanks also to my colleagues from UOC. It has been a great journey to work with you. And thank you for welcoming Katarina and me in the coordination after the end of the program. And a special thanks to my colleagues, of course, from UNITAR, to Anna and Katarina for their support today. And a really, really special thanks to Anna for putting this amazing structure together that helped us all prepare better for the session and hopefully give more answers, be more available, and have more structure with the limited time we have. Thank you, Anna, so much. And I wish everyone a good rest of the week and hope to see everyone in one way or another very shortly. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank
Or
you.
or morning, depending on where you are. Bye bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye.